Show me.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday, 11th meeting. This is a hybrid meeting, so it's online in person. I'm going to call the meeting to order and start off the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaty First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Osalay, and Georgina Island First Nations. Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'm now going to go into a moment of silent reflection for council and staff to quietly reflect on our duties to the community that we represent. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to ask everyone to make sure your cell phones are off or placed on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And remind council of declaration of continuing interest. If it arises, you can declare it then. We have the minutes here from the council meeting from July 14th. I think in order, I'll look for a motion that we do those minutes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? Okay, so we're gonna move into delegations and presentations. And our first on the agenda is Richard Sinegna with Baker Tilly with the 2025 financial statement. Welcome, Richard.
Good morning, everyone. Here to present the results of the audit for the year ended December 31st, 2025. And my plan is just to go through the presentation slides as opposed to the detailed financial statements. It's people find them easier to read and follow. So but the detailed financial statements are provided too. If you have any other questions, ask questions on those as well. But first off, within the presentation slide, all right, is a summary of the independent auditors report. So this is our report on the financial statements. And the auditor's report remains consistent with the prior year. It's a 2-page document, and what we pulled out is what we consider to be the important paragraph that, in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen at December 31st, 2025, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian Public Sector Accounting Standards, or PSAB. So that is your standard clean, unqualified auditor's report. And keep in mind, when we say consolidated, the numbers we will look at in the slides include the operations of the library board, which the township does the accounting for, as well as we get the books for the cemetery board, and we incorporate those into the numbers you see here. The next couple slides give you an idea as to the audit procedures we use to gain the audit evidence to produce our auditor's reports. And that involves the items listed there. So we look at the flows of information, how the money moves in, your revenues, how it moves out in payroll and disbursements, and how you adjust things, being journal entries. Overall, the audit is complete, pending receiving some signed documents and representations from your legal advisors, as well as council approval of the financial statements. This year, there were no significant issues encountered during the audit. The staff did a fine job in preparing for the audits. The one nice thing about 2025 as well, there were no new PSAB changes like there were in 2023 with the asset retirement obligations, and 2024 with how you recognize revenue, which in your case mainly impacted your building permits on when that revenue gets recorded. So for 2025, the reporting stayed the same as in prior years, as in 2024. And there were no unrecorded adjustments, so your schedule of unadjusted differences is clear. So that's a summary of the audit and the process. And now we will actually start taking a look at some of the numbers. Within PSAB, for your statement of financial position, they break items down between financial assets, financial liabilities, and non-financial assets. So financial assets are assets that you have that are either cash or can be turned into cash. And you can see there the 5-year trend is presented, and then the bars on the far right-hand side give you the trend over the 5 years. Overall, you had a bit of a flip between cash and investments. Cash went down, investments went up. Your receivables, really the large increase there is in relation to your ICIP grant for George Street. That amounts, for the arena. The prior year it was George Street, and in total then that amounts to about $1.9 million in that total, as well as your HST. So and the ICIP grant was up about $700,000, creating the difference year over year. And next you have your taxes receivable. The nice thing to see there that although it went up from 23 to 24, in 2025 yours came down, which is a significant difference from other municipalities we've seen where the trend from 24 to 25 it kept on going up. So it was nice to see that it had come down. And as well too, I think in discussions through the audit with your staff, you're continuing your efforts there in collecting your taxes receivable. As a percentage of the total levy, you're back down into the low risk range at 9.1%. The potential goal is 10% to be low risk range. In 2024, you were at 10.4. So it's nice to see the percentage down. So then in total, you had a little over $30 million in total financial assets. And then as well, when you take a look at who you owe money to, which is your financial liabilities, I think both on the previous page where you had a long-term receivable back in 2021, you had a loan payable, and that was all in relation to the Peterborough housing development within the municipality. As you can see there, that was the only debt you have, and at the end of 2025, as in prior years, you don't have any debt for the municipality that is related to municipal operations. The one thing to note here, when you look at your payables, it was down a fair bit in comparison to 2024. As you owed a fair bit to the county in relation to the George Street project at the end of 2024. Excuse me. Next, you have your deferred revenue obligatory reserve funds. In the township case, this represents some development charges that were collected for about $12,000 in 2025, as well as the Canada Community Building Fund. There's about $59,000 that you can use moving forward into 2026. And the major amount there at the end of this year is your parkland fees, which increased by about $40,000 up to about $170,000. So these are monies you have received and you can spend in the future, but you don't recognize them into revenue until you spend them in accordance with the rules that are associated with those funds. Next, you have your deferred revenue. So these are amounts that also you've collected that you can use moving forward. The largest component within there is your OCIF funding that you can use in 2026, as well as some funding in relation to the building permits. The major components. Next, you have your asset retirement obligations, and that was a change in 2023 that previously you'd only recognize the landfill liability in 21 and 22, whereas in 2023 the change incorporated both the landfill and any other obligations you had to remediate properties, so that the amount you see there of almost 1.3, a little over $1.3 million, 460,000 of that relates to the landfills, the 3 landfills that you have, and the balance, the majority of it is for asbestos remediation for both buildings and sewer mains. And then in total you have about almost $3.8 million in total liabilities, leaving you then with a nice continuing increase in your net financial assets, so that's continues to go and moving in the right direction. That leaves you in a good financial position. Next, we have your non-financial assets. So these represent your tangible capital assets being the largest component. So this represents the historical cost less any amortization of your land, buildings, roads, water, sewer infrastructure, all of those items. So that's 36.6 million. And you have some small prepaid expenses. So they're shown as non-financial assets because you don't try to turn those ones into cash. You use it to provide services. During the year, you almost spent $6 million on items that were set up as a capital asset to be depreciated in the future. The two main projects this year, of course, were the work on the Arena Community Center, which is a large component of the buildings amount, and then as well too completing the George Street project with the roads and bridges, as well as some other work on the 8th line and Brown line as well. So those are the major additions to your tangible capital assets. And then over the years, you can see your asset additions in comparison to their amortization. So you can see the last couple of years with some of the larger projects, your asset additions have been increasing. The next slide gives you an idea of really what do you have left moving forward that you have control over. On your financial statements, you will see that you have an accumulated surplus of almost $60.5 million, but you don't have that much in cash and investments because, of course, you've invested almost a little over $35 million in your tangible capital assets. So that's the biggest reason why you do not have that much in cash. And then as well too, and that number is the net book value of your assets less any things associated with it that you have to pay off. And in your case, that's only the asset retirement obligations because you don't have any long-term debt. Your cemetery board continues to have a surplus, although it's been decreasing over the last 5 years. And then really it's the reserve and the reserve funds is what council has access to moving forward. And you can see there in total, it went up about $1.2 million year over year. So you set that money aside so you can use that to replace assets and ideally then continue to have your have a stable increase in your tax rates moving forward. So it's a good thing to see that continuing to grow while you add assets. Next is a summary of your consolidated statement of operations. So this then tries to reconcile your PSAB numbers that are presented on the detailed financial statements to the how you budget internally, as PSAB takes your operating fund, your capital fund, and your reserve and reserve funds and puts them all together for the financial statements. But when you manage internally and set your budgets, you keep all three separate. So that's why the amounts in the reconciliation part are items that take you back to where things are in the operating fund. And as you can see there with transfers to reserves and as items affecting capital assets and asset retirement obligations, that the amounts do come down to zero. And I guess one thing to point out too, with there was a reevaluation of Pier 1 landfill for the 6th line, as there was an addition, the term of the liability was extended as you needed to continue to do monitoring. So one change from the prior year. The next slide gives you an idea of your revenue and expenses over the last 5 years, and you can see there the revenues 24 and 25 both increased somewhat consistent with your increase in your capital assets. It's because the funding you get from the other levels of government capital get recognized when you are eligible to receive the grants and you spend accordingly. The expense doesn't hit until those assets are amortized. Next is a summary of your actual revenues, expenses right out of the financial statements, and you see there that your actual revenues came in at almost $16.3 million higher than the budgeted amount, and some of that is in relation to both additional funding for the community center that had been budgeted in the past, And as well too, supplementaries coming in higher for your property taxation. And as well too, better earnings than budgeted for both, penalties and interest on taxes, as well as your investment income came in significantly higher than, what was budgeted. So therefore then those monies were set aside so you could use them moving forward into your reserves. And as well too, you use the Canada Community Building Fund to fund the 8th line project. And then as well too, when you take a look at user charges, the largest component within there is charges for water and sewer, just almost $1.1 million. So as I said, $1.6 million in revenue. And then you can see where the money went in your expenses. Expenses were just slightly over budget. The one thing back in the provincial revenue line, you had some additional monies coming in for storm cleanup costs, and the expenses for those are also included in your transportation public works area, as well too. In general government, you had some costs for building analysis and things that such as that are not capital, so they appear as an operating item, causing a bit of a variance there. And then with some changes in the landfill liability, those costs were higher, but your costs for repairs and maintenance in water and sewer were coming in lower, so that's why environmental services were under budgets as well too. Your other line items were fairly close and being slightly under budget, so $11.4 million in expenses, and then this is the type of expenses of the 11.4 being broken down into the various components there, and similar to other municipalities, salaries and benefits being the largest component, as that's how you deliver most of your services. And then as well too, within contracted services, policing costs and costs for operating the water and sewer facilities are within there. Rents and financial, the accretion costs and things for the landfill change, for the asset retirement obligations are reported in that line, causing the majority of that variance. And then as well too, your amortization was slightly higher, thus though in total those come back to about the $11.4 million in expenses. So that's how the township finished up at the end of the year. Earlier, nice to see the taxes receivable come down. Your reserves continue to grow, and you are still replenishing your capital. So that all things are pointing to continued strong financial position.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Yeah, it's good to see that our finances are holding on as far as when you see all the work going on around the township and we're still doing okay. So that's a good thing. I'll open it up to council. Deputy Mayor Webb, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks you once again for the presentation, Richard. Just that question about at the end you referenced it again, the taxes receivable. You said ours are going down, but you said that in 23-24 a lot of municipalities suffered a spike in terms of that. What caused that spike?
I think there were just a number of things, the way the economy was going, and I think a lot of things. Surprisingly, taxes receivable went down during the pandemic, and which I wasn't expecting to see. And then, but when in essence came out of that, they did start to increase again. So yeah, there was just some unique things there, and as well too in 2025 for some of the other municipalities, they continue to grow. So it was nice to see yours to come down.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? All right, well, thank you, Richard. That's good news again.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
all right then, so I'll look for a motion to give the resolution. Moved by Councilor Clement, second by Councilor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, Richard.
Richard will get you some signatures.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, next on for delegation is Ray Chung and Frank Bueller from the Territory Manager for the Neptune Technology Group. Welcome.
Okay. Morning, everybody. Thank you for the time, council, mayor. Again, my name is Ray. I'm from Neptune Technology Group. Today we're going to be talking about universal metering, everybody's favorite topic, I'm sure. What I wanted to do really today is just to provide information as to what's happening in the state of metering within Canada. So what we see here, the very first slide, is just to give you a picture of what has transpired across Canada in terms of metering. If you look at the map, you'll notice that we're not 100% metered. Not everywhere has meters, including Havelock. If you look at the numbers, you'll find that if you go to the western part of the country, if you go to the very eastern part of the country, the percentage meters actually drops. You may be thinking, well, why is that the situation? If you look at the middle of Canada, where's all our water? It's actually on the edges of our country. When you have less accessible potable water, there's a need to measure that amount of water to manage it. And the only way to manage your water source is to measure it. So you'll see in Quebec, for instance, it has the least number of water meters installed because they have the most abundant amount of fresh water. There are thousands of lakes within the province of Quebec. So there's not a lot of metering that's happening. But if you look at Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, they're nearly 100% metered because they have less access to that water. I'll give you some examples that is actually happening very recently in BC. I don't know if you follow the news over there. They've been having a lot of wildfires, obviously, right now. Horrible. Last year, they've had more water boil advisories than they've ever had. And on top of that, a lot of BC's communities, their fresh water comes from glaciers. Unfortunately, with the way climate change has happened, the glaciers are reducing faster than they predicted. So they've had less and less water reserves over the years. Last year, they made a call, the province made a call to say you have to start protecting your water source by conservation. It's only until last year they made that decision. So that percentage of meters is actually going to start to pick up. They've been installing a lot more meters than they've ever had to reduce consumption. Another prime example, in Newfoundland, you'll notice in Newfoundland, there's not a lot of water metering that's happening there. Last summer, St. John's almost went dry. And a lot of communities around it, Paradise, Mount Pearl, they had a water restriction they've never had before, but they don't have meters. So they had no way of figuring out where the water is going. Do they have massive leaks in the ground? Or were people using too much water? They had no idea. So now it's becoming a thing, but maybe we should look at protecting our water source, right? For most part, what you see on this map, the blue numbers represent meters in commercial settings, because those are usually the biggest users. If you look at any kind of city, any kind of town, your commercial users, your Tim Hortons, your hotels, your businesses typically use more water than any household. Obviously, there are more households than there are businesses, but the percentage rule is 80% of the water use usually comes from the commercial users, which only represents 20% of the connected services population. But it's also very important to make sure you're monitoring total usage within a town. Okay, we'll talk about what that looks like. When we look at a municipality, a town that is metered compared to what's not metered, it's typically 76% higher water usage per capita in a town that does not have meters compared to one that does. Where that comes from is typically you don't realize how much water you're using. You're using water to not just water the lawn when it really needs it, but you're having an irrigation system that's actually going off automatically when it's raining, right? You're filling swimming pools, you're washing driveways when you can easily be sweeping the driveways.
Or it could be a toilet in the basement that's, running, but you rarely go in that basement washroom, so you don't realize it. I had that situation in my house a few years ago, not for my own fault, because it wasn't necessarily me, but it was my brother who actually showed up to my house, used the basement bathroom and didn't tell me. And then 2 months later, I show up in the basement, why is this toilet that I never use running? Because he used it two months ago. So those are sort of things that add up in terms of water consumption. If we look at a system that is not metered, it's typically called a flat rate system, right? So people pay technically for their water use through taxes, right? It's built into their taxes. But in the industry, that kind of model is more like the flat rate model is more like we hope that the revenue we get from taxes covers our costs. Now, the municipality is not designed to bring in profit, but you're trying to operate even keel, right? Trying to break even, manage your costs. But if you don't measure what that is, you don't know what the potential new costs may be. There's no way to predict that. So there is potential for financial vulnerability because you're not able to see what the future costs may be, future costs being expansion. Water treatment is not cheap these days. Do I need to put up a new water tower? Do I need to expand my water treatment facilities? How do I know if I don't have the ability to measure what is being consumed in the population? Do I know that there are actually more people in town that are using more water? Or is it that I have a leak in my kilometers long pipe within town? What is it? Is it people using more water, or do I have a problem within my distribution system? Unless you meter, you're just guessing. You don't know. So a metering system is really built to allow you to control where you're going to put that money in your budgets. Do I see more water usage from the residential side, from the commercial side, or are there problems within my distribution system? So it allows you, the information allows you to make those multi-million-dollar decisions with good information, not just guessing at what that may be. I think even after or before COVID, but after COVID especially, cost of things have gone up tremendously. I think we can all agree to that here. The cost to produce water, to deliver to you and I, 24/7, 365 days a year, cost of water, of potable water, so it doesn't kill us, has gone up. It's not just the chemicals that is used to treat the water. It's the pumping costs. Electricity is by far the most expensive cost to any water utility to get that water to your home, right? To pump it up to the water tower for it to come down. It is very expensive. Pumps alone, those prices of pumps in water treatment plants have gone up significantly. And it's outpaced what we all see as consumers in the consumer price index in terms of inflation. CPI does not reflect the manufacturing industry in this space. It's not about buying pencils and backpacks and school lunches for our kids. We're talking industrial products used to produce water. It's not reflected in CPI. So it's difficult to show the public that side because they only ever see the cost of consumer goods. But it's becoming a fine line in this day and age to raise the cost of charging for water, whether it be through a flat rate or whether it be through a water rate, and also conservation, because we need to protect the water source for future, right? So it's that balance that everybody's struggling with. And metering allows people, allows towns, municipalities to make that decision of, okay, I can reduce the amount of water consumed through some conservation measures, but I could also raise the water rates just a little bit to offset some of our costs. We're not running deficits, but it's giving that ability to determine that versus increasing taxes, which nobody likes these days, because for everybody, I need to increase taxes to cover our water costs. So that's the history of where people go and why people go towards metering. What I wanted to go into next is what is out there in terms of the water metering space. And traditionally, meters actually been around for over 120 years, over 135 years. Neptune is the oldest water meter manufacturer in North America. And the historical type of water meter you'll find in most cities, most towns in North America, is a mechanical water meter. It's easy to understand. They don't require batteries. They measure water very, very well. They're designed to last forever. Forever in these days and age is decades. Because if you think of it, your cell phone, you ever see a cell phone last decades? It doesn't happen easily, right? So water meters will last, I use air quotes, for a long time. It's a matter of how well will they age. And unlike a bottle of fine wine, they don't age like that. A mechanical device will age poorly over time. So a water meter is designed to be 100% accurate right out of the factory. Over time, through wear and tear, it loses its accuracy. And in our world, in metering, we call the water meter the cash register for the town. Because after taxes, the water meter is the only thing that brings in revenue for a town. Yeah, you can sell dog licenses, and you can sell some garbage tags, that sort of thing. But real revenue is only generated by a water meter after taxes. So traditionally, the water meter is that cash register. So you want to maintain the revenue that's coming in, but knowing that these are mechanical devices, just like your car. The more you drive it, does it get any better? It doesn't get any better. It gets worse, right? More maintenance is required. It's the exact same thing for a mechanical water meter. But they're built to last decades. It's just, you have to realize after a couple of decades, they're not as good anymore. So they actually slow down. Which if you go to any town, I don't know if people from other towns always complain, oh, my water bill is so high. I don't know why it spiked. They always blame the water meter. That water meter that's 15, 20, 30 years old didn't get way more accurate. It actually lost accuracy. But it's just something happened that you weren't aware of. We used to call those leaks inside homes, but leaks infers that it was the homeowner's fault. It's actually, we term it now, unintentional usage. You didn't intend to use it, but it went through the water meter. It measures something. So we now know that water meters lose accuracy over time, which results in loss of revenue over time. What is happening now? The last 5 years has picked up a lot of steam. Is the industry has come up with non-moving parts water meter, non-mechanical water meter. So what that translates to is for the next 20 years, and they're designed to last 20 years, you have sustained revenue for the town. Because there are no moving parts, there's no wear and tear that happens. So that revenue from day one is the same revenue in 20 years when you put that meter in. So that's the newest technology today. It's nominal extra cost for that type of water meter, but it is battery powered. There's no way around it. People always ask you, why can't you just put a plug in it? But I'm pretty sure you, who has a house, is not gonna let me as a manufacturer come in and plug my water meter in to your electricity so I can bill you for a water that you use. It doesn't happen in our space. So every non-mechanical water meter has to come with a battery. We just design it to last 20 years. So that's the current technology that's out there today. So 20 years, no maintenance, sustained revenue for the next 20 years. The trade-off is you've got to get to it.
Ray, is the battery life 20 years?
Battery life is 20 years, and it's warranted for 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the industry standard right now. So that's the measurement part of it. That's your cash register. But you still have to be able to collect that information. Right? Traditionally, last 20 years aside, traditionally, the way to get a water meter reading was to knock on your door and enter your home, go in the basement, record that reading, bring it back to the office. That was traditional way. There used to be, I don't know if you people remember this, there used to be cities who had meters, they actually had key rooms. Where that room contained a house key to every single person's home. You would unlock the door, go in the basement, read a meter. Well, I'm pretty sure we're not gonna do that these days. Right? So how do you get that reading from that basement out? Well, now we do it wirelessly. And there's two modes of getting that information. It's called AMR, which stands for automatic meter reading, and AMI, advanced meter infrastructure. All that means is I don't have to enter a home anymore. The two differences, the main difference is in AMR, I still have to physically send somebody out there to either walk or drive by that home to collect the meter reading. All right, and I only have the granular piece to that is I only have enough of the data is only as good as when I go and read that meter. So if you only have resources to read that meter every other month, that's the best you can do in terms of the data that comes back. Versus AMI, now that information is wirelessly transmitted into a network, whether it be something, you know, an antenna, like a SCADA system, like I put up on a water tower, or it's cellular enabled, just like your cell phone, and it sends the reading and all the data back to the office wirelessly every single day. So it's a matter of how often do we want to receive that information? Every time we read, so every other month when I send somebody up there, or they want it coming at me every hour. It's more of a preference right now. And a decision matrix is really built towards how good you want to have your customer service be to your constituents. There's a balance there as well, because when you go down the path of AMI, because that data is coming at you fast and furious, 24/7, 365 days a year. Does the town have any social media like Facebook? Somebody has to moderate that, right? AMI, I equate it to the Facebook of water. It's coming at you every single day, every hour. You need somebody that's going to, you know, watch it. Otherwise, it's no better than just sending a person out every other month. If you're just going to ignore that information every single day. That information that's coming in every single day, though, you can do a lot with that. You can allow, you can alert homeowners like, oh, something's going on in your house. We noticed there's a spike in your usage before they get that high water bill, before they're wasting that water that you paid to get to them, right? Think of it when they're using that high water bill. Yeah, that's, if you have meters, yeah, that's a lot of revenue. At the same time, you spend a lot of money to produce that water for them, and it's just pouring out. They didn't use it, right? It could have been a leaky toilet and it just goes right down the drain. So when you look at a solution, a metering solution, a good solution is designed to grow with the town. Perhaps you don't have the resources, whether it's financially or whether it's staff to manage an AMI system. You can start off just by having an AMR system, drive around, walk around, however may that be. When the need grows, when end users, your homeowners want more ability to have the town tell them what's going on, or self-manage. I want to be able to log into my account and see that. Then a good system, you should be able to plug in another device, not have to touch the water meters, so you can bring that information to them. So good systems should be designed to grow with what your needs are. When you get to this level, when it's AMR and AMI, you have now that ability to provide that unintended usage detection. You have that ability to show them, okay, when you have a high water bill, I can tell you exactly the day it started, exactly the hour it started, and very likely I can tell you when it stopped. That's when you actually went and jiggled that toilet flapper in that toilet in the basement. Did you go here on this day and check out the basement? Yeah, it was actually, you know, on the weekend. Oh, that's when it stopped. That's why you have a high water bill. When you get to the AMI level, when it's coming at you every single day, now they can manage it. they can log into an app, set an alert for themselves. So that when they have high usage, they get an email, they get a text message. So you've enabled that to the constituents so they can manage it themselves. From an operations perspective, this is not just for homeowners, business owners. From an operations perspective, with the metering system, now you have the ability to monitor your distribution system. You can plug in devices such as pressure monitoring, temperature monitoring. You can have reverse flow detection if you have a cross connection program to protect your water source, right? If you have, I don't know if there's a funeral home in town or a chemical distribution center, you may want to keep an eye on those types of businesses, because if the water is flowing backwards into your potable water distribution system, that's a huge concern, right? So an AMI system, an AMR system, both can handle it. Both can tell you that information. Just remember, the difference between AMR and AMI is just speed at which you get the information. That's all it is. So when we're looking at the different meters, the different types of systems, not all the bells and whistles. And this is from everybody. It doesn't have to be from Neptune. It's all the manufacturers out there. It is only as good as how you have it implemented. If you can't get this system in place, a metering system, meters inside homes, all connected to the town system's billing system, and if you already have a portal, great. If not, you can implement the portal. If it's not all connected properly and efficiently within a reasonable time frame, then it's all for nothing. You can have all the bells and whistles you want in that system, but if you can't use it, what's the point? Right? So a lot of emphasis nowadays has been on how do I implement this properly? How do I get it so that my end users will reap the benefits from customer service? And how do I make towns staff life easier? I'm not sure if you heard in the industry, they call these things smart systems. I want a smart this, I want a smart parking sensor, I want a smart city that's going to tell me when I need to dump the garbage within town. It's no different for a smart watering system. The operative word is smart. I want to make you dumber with this. I want to make you smart. Smarter being more efficient at your jobs, not have to pull out your hair. So that's where you really have to consider, how do I implement this? And a good way to do it is a multi-pronged approach where you have an ability to store that information digitally these days. We're not talking about going out there with a pen and paper. When I install a water meter in your house, I write it down on a piece of paper, and I bring it back to the office, and it's going to take me 5 days to enter that information into the billing system, and I have hundreds of these to do. And what if I messed up some of the serial numbers? I enter the wrong meter serial number into that person's house, and Bob got this person's meter information. I wouldn't know for 10 years unless somebody complained. So everything's done digitally. Additionally, when you install a water meter, you have to make it easy for residents to get that water meter. When you book an appointment to have a technician come in, how do I do it? Some people are more tech savvy, they like and prefer to do it all online. I don't want to talk to a live person. Or you have other people who want to talk to a live person and have questions. So you have to have the ability to have a call center staffed fully, speak multiple languages, and have an online booking system that makes it easy for them to have that meter installed. Additionally, it's the campaign that goes well before all that to educate people that there is a program happening. There's an open house that's going to happen. Come in, ask questions, prepare people for what's coming down the pipe. Have them book the appointment, get it all installed, and get that sent into the billing system wirelessly without having anybody typing that information in. That is the key to having that implemented properly. So communication is probably the most important part of all this for any kind of successful program to begin. And what we've noticed at Neptune, we used to do all these fancy marketing things. We used to have these, we call them trifold pamphlets. We had all this kind of information. It was great, double-sided. It looked almost like a pizza flyer. What do people do most times when they see a pizza flyer coming to the mailbox? It goes right into the recycle. Believe it or not, the data that we've collected over the last 40 years of installing our own water meters is the plain black and white letter gets more traction than a shiny, colorful pamphlet with all this information because it looks more legitimate. Funny that, a plain black and white letter. But that is what we found. The data that we collected, that is what we found in terms of getting that communication out there and getting the people to accept that there's a program that's happening and booking those appointments. But not only that is that there has to be a staged approach to how you release this information. People are busy these days. You send multiple letters out, but you don't send them back to back. They'll just get ignored. You give them some time. Give them some time to react. They'll get there at a certain point. But you also want to track all this information. When did you send the letter out? I sent it on this day. When did the technician show up? They showed up on this day to put the meter in. All that information needs to be tracked because if there's ever a question to the town, it's like, oh, I never got the letter. I never got a phone call. All this was digitally tracked. Yes, you did. You got a letter. You got actually a second letter. We phoned you, and a technician showed up knocking your door on this day, and we have a GPS stamp. All that is what is happening today. That's what a good service company should be able to provide you. In addition to that, there should be a way for the town to monitor all this that's happening. A project of this scale, you'll hear me say this again, when you do a metering project, universal metering project, it is the only project in the entirety of any town where you touch every single person. With every home, you need a water meter. With business, you need a water meter. You know, when you fix a road, you're not fixing every single road in town. You're not repaving every single road. When you fix a piece of pipe, it's not every single pipe in town that you do. Metering project, it's every single home. But it's the only project that at the end of the project, at the completion of it, actually going to bring revenue in for you. Okay, so having access to how that project is progressing is very important. Having the ability to see an appointment live that's happening. If somebody calls in, they'll go, I heard that you're at my mom's house doing a meter installation. How's that going? You can log into a portal, if it's so provided. We do one of those, see the progress or see how the progress is happening throughout the project. How many meters have been installed? How many people have actually complained? How many letters have you sent out? All that information, because it's all tracked digitally, is available to you. You want to have that information. You want to be able to see how your project is progressing. So when you look at a metering project, a lot of the times people get hung up on what kind of meter is it? How good is it? What kind of features does it have? You know, can it do this? Can it do that? Really, a lot of the manufacturers out there have standardized on what they can do. They can provide. Everybody does it a little bit different, but everybody provides the same type of information or gives you the information maybe in a different way, but gets you the same end goal. It's really, the hard part is really, how do I get this installed? How do I get it implemented? What kind of project plan is it? Do I have a plan to begin with? And then who's going to manage this day to day? Because every day somebody's going to call in, not just one, not two, multiple people will call in. How do I manage all that? Do I have a call center that handles that? Do I have a project manager that can handle that? What are the customer service levels? Do I have somebody that can, you know, answer the questions about the metering system, right? Those things that, you know, you need to consider. And then on top of that, how do I get the information back so that I have this for the next 20, 30 years? But how do I get it back correctly? Right? So, again, the metering project is the only project that you're going to go to every single person's home. The real art comes down to the communication, the planning, the ability, and the efficiency of how you get inside those homes. Installing a water meter, I don't know if anybody's ever done any plumbing in their house before. It's not rocket science. The art is getting into that home. That's the hard part. That's what takes the longest part to do. So just a fun fact of Neptune, before we end this, we are the oldest water meter manufacturer out there who installs our own equipment. So we're the only ones in the industry that have a service arm. You know, there are service companies out there that install water meters. But really, when you look at a service company that makes its own stuff, there's really no finger pointing that happens. Is the water meter broken? Is it the installation that wasn't correct? They didn't install it correctly? Oh, no, it was this guy. It's that guy's meter. No, it was the installer. Go talk to that guy. There's only one person to talk to when it comes to Neptune. It's either Neptune meter or Neptune installation service, Neptune customer service representative. Right. So that's the overall from a history and where the industry has gone and where we are at in terms of who Neptune is. I just hope that you found one nugget in there in today's presentation and consider it down the road.
Great, thank you. And yeah, it's something that we've talked about for years. We do have a water system for the village. It's not for the whole township, so it's just localized here, and it's limited users, and it's expensive for all the work we do on water. You mentioned revenue a lot, and we don't really look at it as revenue. We just look at trying to keep it and make it work properly, safely. So that's our biggest concerns there. We are a user pay municipality for everything else, and this is something that we've talked about in the past, that it could be valuable to make sure that the people that are using the bulk of the water are going to be paying for it. Do you have any companies that are local that you supplied within the vicinity of Havelock, or do you know that if there's our neighbors to the west do have metering system? I don't know if it's Neptune or who it is they use, but do you have any locals here that you've serviced?
Yeah, we can provide you a list of other municipalities. In Ontario, it's predominantly in Neptune.
Okay.
Peterborough, who's the next biggest city to you, is not, but their meters are due for replacement. They're over 20-something years old. So they're down the path of looking at a new metering system. But if you go down Highway 7, it's mostly Neptune that's out there because we are the oldest. Sure. Universal metering really picked up in Ontario back in the early 80s. So a lot of the municipalities, towns around you guys have had meters for over 20 years now. Now, the next largest universal metering city, we're just about to finish it, and that's in Cornwall. That's the last big city in Ontario that doesn't have water meters. It will be done by September.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Webb?
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Notice there weren't any real financial numbers put in here around this. So in terms of the AMR and the AMI, how much is it per unit for an installation?
If I were to just throw out some ballpark numbers from an AMR perspective, these days you're probably looking at $675 all in for installation for an AMR system. Maybe 10% more tops for an AMI system.
Okay.
What is it?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what really is the consideration is, and I've had this happen 20 years ago because Neptune's had AMI for 20 years. You have to really think about your customer service levels that you want to bring. Because an AMR system can do everything an AMI system can do. It just will only come to you every other month if you choose to meet it every other month. Because all the data is stored in the meter. You just have to go get it versus it coming to you every single day, every hour. So it's just have to think about, do I have staff that's going to be handling that information? Or put a portal in. There's a cost to it, not much more, but now everybody in town has access to that information, and I don't have to give them that customer service level. They can manage it themselves, right? So that you can do that part as well.
So 1, 2, 3. So with that, if we take. We get, if say we use the AMR and we go, who does those readings? Do you guys do those readings? Does our town staff have to do those readings?
It's typically either a town staff person,
Yeah.
you can sometimes contract that out. There are contracted companies that do that. In recent experience, there are towns, if you go along close to you, you go south by 45 minutes, they used to have contract meter readers. They've now gone down the path of AMR, AMI, and done away with contracting because they can get by with staff reading every quarter. Or if they're going down AMI's path, they don't need staff.
But that would be an added cost on top of the installation, right, moving forward, so like the
Yeah.
township would have to bear. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you're hiring a full FTE. You're not hiring a full-time meter reader. It's, you have somebody go around
But-
for a few hours.
But it's an added cost on top of it.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the AMI, so you come out, you do that, you said it's say that's $700-800, right? What if something happens with the system, who goes back and replaces that? And then in terms of the data collection, when it comes here, do we as a township have to pay for the website setup or ongoing data collection?
Yes, good question. So when it comes to putting a meter system in, there's obviously an installation warranty that goes along with it. At least I can speak for Neptune. There's an installation warranty that goes along with this. So there's any problems with the installation perspective, it leaks, something happens inside the home, yeah, you're covered for a warranty period. Typically that's 12 months after the data installation. Usually you find leaks within the first 4 or 5 weeks. A leak doesn't magically happen of an installation person's fault 12 months from now. And then the product itself has decades of warranty on it. If you look at the non-mechanical water meter, it's a 20-year battery with a 20-year warranty. The transmitters themselves, they also have a 20-year battery with a 20-year warranty. So town's covered in that regard. When the data comes in, it's all stored in the cloud. It's the safest place to put that information these days. You hear all these horror stories of towns being locked out because of ransomware. Ransomware insurance is a big thing these days. I'll give you an example. There's a city, the GTA, west of Toronto, that runs our system. The only thing after they got hit by ransomware that was running was the metering system because we were in the cloud. So your data is protected that way. And yes, there is a nominal annual fee that goes along with it. Definitely, you can get a budgetary number from my colleague Frank. By that information, you'd be surprised how nominal that is comparatively for a metering system, especially of your size. There's not a lot of data that's being necessarily collected.
Oh, thank you. And then just one more kind of along the same line. So with the AMI, I believe it says no consumption after battery is exhausted. And I assume that the same if there's some kind of malfunction with it. So what happens to somebody like who's going to go fix that? Because obviously those people are going to want water.
Yeah.
If their water's, they can't get water if this.
So when a meter fails, whether it be a mechanical meter or a static meter that has a battery, water's still flowing through the pipe. The end user still gets their water. It's not as if it's shut off. It's more the consumption recording does not happen and the town is without revenue for that period, like an accurate revenue.
Okay.
But what most places do, they estimate based on history, right?
Well, that's what more I was concerned about was, so the water flow continues. It's just, we're not measuring it. Okay. It would be the same as the AMI in a way, that they'd still get their water.
They still get water.
We're concerned about just the residents having access to water and we could worry about what we've been losing out on afterward. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So through your Mayor Martin, so the water goes through here. We have extremely hard water. In 20 years, I've replaced my water conditioner 3 times.
Mhm.
What happens in that case?
Hard water. So a traditional water meter, mechanical water meter, this is a very good question. It's right up my alley. I've tested personally, when I started at Neptune, as a young person out of university, out of engineering, I wanted to break down these meters, get my hands on them. I was put on the water test bench for a year, testing meters. And I could tell you over the years, water quality matters. And for a traditional water meter, the more turbidity in the water, more sediment, the harder the water is, the harder it is on the actual mechanical device. Nice thing about traditional mechanical water meters, they will still measure, they will just lose accuracy faster. So I'll give you an example. In 20-year plus time, say 22, 23 years old, a mechanical water meter, instead of being 100% accurate, is 90% accurate. It's not as if it's 0. It's not as if it's 50, 90. So you're losing 10% revenue. A static meter, and this is why we design static meters for the industry, it'll be 100% accurate because water turbidity, water quality, in terms of hardness, does not affect a static meter. The sensors still function, right? That's why people use it. And in the US, it's actually more dominant there because, not to knock the US, we have better water quality than they do. So a lot of towns, cities, in fact, in the US have a lot of sand, grit in their water, right? And sometimes we get it in different cities too. If you go to your faucet and you undo the little strainer, you'll see little bits of debris in there. That flowed through the water meter. Mechanical meter, that's jamming it up. It passes right through a static meter.
Councillor Blagger.
That's very interesting. Thank you for explaining that to us. With the mechanical one, you said the water will goo up in that where it goes through the other one, right? Okay, so is the cost of that one higher than the one that?
Nominally, yeah, it's a few extra percentage costs for.
Okay, and you can do more things with I can't remember what you called the water meter. I'm losing it. Mechanical one, not the mechanical one, the other one. So is there more of a charge with that one when it comes to being able to monitor things yourself? I don't know, you had it on the
Yes.
internet thing there.
Yeah, so a portal for one,
Right,
a self-service portal, consumer portal, does cost more money. Whether you choose to go down the path of a Neptune consumer portal, there are portals commercially available out there that's not Neptune.
Okay,
That's
so-
designed for this. But yeah,
okay, so I'd be not interested in any of that. I just want a water meter to measure my water, that's it. I don't care what it says on the internet. I just want my bill, I pay for it, that's it. So would I be charged that extra charge for the internet?
yeah, so if the town chooses to provide a portal, consumer engagement portal, it's for the entirety of the town. So there's a single charge, an annual fee that is for that, for the entirety of the town. You can't just pick and choose. I want, 10 residents not included in this.
That's right, because I don't want to have it, okay,
Yeah.
but it's a.
You have to make the decision. It's all or nothing.
Councillor Martin.
Thanks, Richard. I haven't heard exactly what the cost of the meters are. The physical, not the installation, the actual physical cost of a meter that you're going to install in a house.
Yeah, so they run in like a few $100s per meter.
Well, is that 200? Is that 500? Is that
If,
600? How many meters do we need in town? And how long would it take to convert those? Using your experience with
Yeah.
that.
So I'm not exactly sure your total number of services within Havelock. Let's say let's say 700 homes, for instance. Just to purchase a meter is probably closer to like $450 just a meter on its own.
So that's the few $100s we're talking about.
Yeah, but when you do a supply and installation project, there's bundled savings that happens there.
That's what I'm trying to get I'm trying to get an in number here, so I can do some math on installation.
You can definitely propose.
Because I haven't, through your mayor, I haven't heard one thing yet are there grant opportunities and do you participate in that with us or for us?
Yeah,
I haven't heard that yet. Is that possible? Do you do that type of thing?
we at Neptune can provide when a grant is available. Unfortunately, the federal government just had one But it was the last, I think the deadline was July 30th. And everybody was scrambling to get on board. Because there were billions of dollars that the federal government were giving out just recently. Now, I'm not saying there will be more, no more grants, but that had just come out. But they gave such a small window. I knew a lot of towns were scrambling,
Always do.
right? Try to get that.
Okay, so what is the cost of putting the meter in? That you pay that then? And then we pay you? Like, I'm not getting any numbers here so I can get any
Yes.
sense because it's a budgetary item. And installation, you say technician, so that's not a plumber. So that's a technician, so you have to go to school and train for that? Like, what are the steps?
Yes.
I'm confused. But you did cover the liability, so we could send anybody in because you're gonna be liable.
Yes.
So I think for today, like it's, once we receive this is an information thing, and then we would have to gather the numbers from our staff to let you know how many units we would need. And then we can work on the budget side of it. But right now, you don't know how many people we have in town or how many meters we're gonna need. You can give us a ballpark figure, but I think it's, for today, once we receive this delegation, if we're serious about it and we want to look into this further, we can send you the numbers of what we would require, the installation side of it, and for budgetary purposes, you could send us back something that we could use in our budget process to see if it's feasible or if it's not. So, because right now you don't know what we have in Havelock-Belmont-Methuen or what we require. You would have to gather that to give us a proper number here today.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, it wouldn't take long to get you a budgetary quote.
Can I do a follow-up question? But you said it's information session. That's what I'm trying to do is gather information to see whether we would be interested in getting that number. So I apologize if we're ahead. Thank you.
hey,
Okay, just a quick question. You mentioned the AMI system is continuously sending data. So then we determine, this is a question, I'm not sure how this goes. We determine that every 30 days we take that reading or we mark it down, or every 60 days, or how does that work? Or how do you recommend that work?
Good question. So when you go down the path of AMI, you get an hourly reading for every single water meter. It comes in every single day, 365. From a billing perspective, you set a billing window. Do I want to bill every quarter? Do I want to bill every month? It's more of a cost to produce a bill to get the revenue in, right? A lot of places when they go down the path of AMI, they had meters, they upgraded the AMI, they went from 6 months down to every other month. They don't typically go monthly because the cost to produce the bill is actually quite high these days. How much is a stamp at Canada Post? It's not cheap anymore, right? So it's to weigh the cost of producing a paper bill of the cities. So it's really deciding on you when you want to bill, but the data, the reading is always stored in the cloud for you historically. It doesn't go away. It's there. So you can access that historical information. So you can do trending from an operations perspective. I have data from last year on the Tim Hortons in town, and I'm comparing it this year. Like, why did it go down all of a sudden? What's happening? Is it the meter? Did they open up the bypass? You have a car wash in town. Why is it that their consumption is way down? What are they bypassing the meter? Did they put something in there? I have all that historical information to go get to that information, to action. That's the great part.
so for future consideration, I think if, if we could, we can see where we go when we get closer to budget, but I guess if we were to ask for a price on, say, the two systems, what we would be looking at, for budget purposes. And we can decide on what level of service we want to give, because whether it's, the meter thing, like you said, even quarterly, is better than what we have now because we don't have anything. So, so if we had numbers quarterly, even that would be okay. As far as the portal and the other higher tech one, can you go from you said you can go from the one unit, like, so if we started off with the one unit and we wanted to transfer over to the other, is there much of a cost to change that, or
So when you go from AMR
AMR to AMI?
AMI, the beauty of our system, and most systems should be able to do this, you have to ask the question, but at Neptune, you spent the time and effort to put the water meter in, to set it all up. To get that to the next level, all you're doing is putting up an antenna. And I would put it up on your water tower, and now you're blanket the entire town.
Okay,
There's no going back to a home to upgrade the meter. There's no going back to change the programming.
Sure.
There, and literally the moment I turn on that antenna, it's in your software.
okay,
So it's quite easy to do.
all right, thank you. Okay, Councillor Flagler.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. I just have one more question. If I leave, say I'm going somewhere, Florida, for 2 or 3 months, and I don't shut my water off, do I still get a bill?
From a billing perspective, I can't necessarily comment what a municipality would want to do, but it's almost like we rehearsed this or something, because there's actually a function within the software. It's called I like to call it the snowbird button. So essentially, you check off that account in the software to say they're gone. If there's consumption that's being recorded, the meter's installed, water, can be measured, but we know you're gone. A little alert comes up to the town saying, "Why are you using water? You've checked off that you're gone."
There. So, oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
All right,
thank you.
all right then. Well, thank you, Ray, for your presentation.
Thank you for the time.
A lot of things to consider. So, for today, I'll look for a motion to receive the delegation. Moved by Kathy, and Councillor Clement, and second by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you for your time.
Next on the agenda is a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendments. We have 4 of them today. And I'm going to read the remark here, the opening remark, then this goes for all 4 of them. This is a statutory meeting held under section 39 of the plan. I'll look for a motion first to go into the public meeting. Motion to go into the public meeting for the zoning bylaw amendment, moved by Councillor Clement, second by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so this is a statutory meeting held under section 39 of the Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and make written or verbal presentation either in support or in opposition of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Please keep your video off and microphone muted during the meeting until the chair invites comments regarding the planning matter. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added to as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal. In the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So with that, I'll go into the first item on here. And Nolan, you're going to be presenting this for POTEN, zoning bylaw amendment 1326.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Martin. And through you, I will be discussing the zoning bylaw amendment application Z 1326 relating to the property municipally known as 170 Fire Route 57, which I will refer to as the subject site. The subject site is comprised of 2 properties with roll numbers 1531 006 10 1400 and 1531 010 006 14001, which are referred to as the east and west parcels respectively. The subject site is owned by Sean and Nancy Hogue. The subject site is designated shoreline in the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen official plan and is zoned Special District 134 zone in the Township zoning bylaw. The purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone both properties, being the east and west parcels, from the Special District 134 zone to the seasonal residential zone. The zoning bylaw amendment is related to consent application B9125, which was provisionally approved by the County of Peterborough on May 7th, 2026. The approved consent application would add an approximately 0.19 hectare portion of the east parcel to the property at 166 Fire Route 57. Application B9125 requires the rezoning of both the severed northern portion and the retained portion of the east parcel as a condition of consent to ensure that the lot addition application will not result in the creation of parcels which are split into multiple zones. This rezoning will ensure that the north portion of the east parcel, which is to be severed and conveyed to the property at 166 Fire Route 57, is zoned consistently with the benefiting property. The property at 166 Fire Route 57 is currently zoned Special District 244 zone, although a related zoning bylaw amendment with number Z1626 has been submitted to rezone this property to the seasonal residential zone as well, establishing a consistent zoning category between these parcels. The zoning bylaw amendment will also ensure that the south retained portion of the east parcel and the west parcel, which are to be merged as a condition of consent, are both zoned seasonal residential, ensuring that the final lot fabric is consistently zoned. The application will remove the Special District 134 zone from the site at 170 Fire Route 57. This Special District zone provides site-specific provisions, including for a greater minimum lot area than is required by the seasonal residential zone, which is no longer appropriate for the final property fabric. A review of the zoning bylaw has confirmed that should the consent application be finalized, both the enlarged property at 166 Fire Route 57 and the subject property at 170 Fire Route 57 will comply with the minimum lot area requirements of the seasonal residential zone. The seasonal residential zone will appropriately regulate yard setbacks, high watermark setbacks, lot area, lot coverage, and other applicable zoning provisions for the resulting lot fabric. Legally existing development on the subject property as of the date of the passing of this bylaw will be regulated in accordance with the legal non-complying lots, buildings, and structures provisions of the zoning bylaw. Future development on the benefiting properties following the finalization of the lot addition application will be required to comply with the provisions of the seasonal residential zone, or alternatively will require additional planning approvals. The Crow Valley Conservation Authority has reviewed the subject application and has identified no concerns. Following the township's review and assessment of this application within the context of relevant land use policies, it is our planning opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the township official plan, and complies with the general intent and purpose of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen zoning bylaw. It is staff's conclusion and recommendation that this application be approved. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from council members or members of the public.
All right, then. Thank you, Nolan. I'll open up the council here. Are there any questions or the public online? I don't see anybody in the audience. Councilor Blacker, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, does this affect the access to the other cottagers on the road?
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Martin, the zoning bylaw amendment will not affect the access for the other cottages. It is simply to rezone the parcels to be added to through the lot addition application to ensure that they are all regulated under the same zoning category. So in the case that future development should occur on any of the lands, it'll ensure that there is one zone applying to the final lot fabric, which is to be changed through the previously approved consent applications.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? So there is a recommendation here. What's your thoughts? Move the recommendation.
Make a motion to pass it.
Okay, moved by Councilor Clement that we move the recommendation for this property. Do I have a seconder? Second by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, the next item on here, Nolan, is Z 1626.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. And through you, I will be discussing the zoning bylaw amendment application Z 1626 relating to two properties in the Methuen ward owned by Annette Haberling and Jason Vance. The first property is identified with roll number 1531 010 006 14003, and this is a backlot property owned by Annette Haberling. The second property to be rezoned through this application is the property municipally known as 166 Fire Route 57 with roll number 1531 010 006 14100. This property at 166 Fire Route 57 is owned by both Annette Haberling and Jason Vance. Both properties are designated shoreline in the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen official plan. The backlot property is currently zoned rural in the Township zoning bylaw, while the property at 166 Fire Route 57 is zoned Special District Zone. Excuse me, Special District 244 zone. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is twofold. The subject zoning bylaw amendment will firstly rezone two portions of the backlot property from the rural zone to the seasonal residential zone. Secondly, the zoning bylaw amendment will rezone the entirety of the property at 166 Fire Route 57 from the Special District 244 zone to the seasonal residential zone. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is being sought to fulfill the conditions of provisionally approved lot addition applications B9325 and B9225. Consent application B9325 was provisionally approved by the County of Peterborough on March 9th, 2026 to add an approximately 0.08 hectare portion of the backlot property to the benefiting property at 166 Fire Route 57. The rezoning of this 0.08 hectare parcel was required as a condition of consent to ensure that the lot addition application did not result in a split zone parcel. The applicants are requesting to rezone the property at 166 Fire Route 57 to the seasonal residential zone to ensure that the seasonal residential zone is applied consistently across the proposed enlarged property. A second consent application, B9225, was provisionally approved by the County of Peterborough on May 7th, 2026 to add an approximately 0.25 hectare portion of the backlot property to the benefiting property at 178 Fire Route 57, which is owned by a separate landowner. The rezoning of the 0.25 hectare parcel was required as a condition of consent to ensure that the lot addition application would not result into a split zone property. The benefiting property at 178 Fire Route 57 is currently zoned seasonal residential, and therefore the rezoning of the property at 178 Fire Route 57 was not required. The approval of the subject application would result in the 0.08 hectare severed parcel and its benefiting lot at 166 Fire Route 57 being appropriately regulated under one single seasonal residential zone. Secondly, the approval of the application would result in the 0.25 hectare parcel and the benefiting lot at 178 Fire Route 57 being appropriately regulated under a single seasonal residential zone, thus supporting orderly development. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment would also remove site-specific provisions established by the Special District 244 zone, which currently apply to the site at 166 Fire Route 57. These site-specific provisions include permitting a reduced minimum lot area requirement, which would no longer be appropriate following the enlargement of the parcel. Should the consent applications be finalized, the enlarged properties at 166 Fire Route 57 and 178 Fire Route 57 will comply with the minimum lot area requirements of the seasonal residential zone. The seasonal residential zone will appropriately regulate yard and high watermark setbacks, lot area, lot coverage, and other applicable zoning provisions for the resulting lot fabric. Development which legally existed on each property as of the date of the passing of this bylaw will be regulated in accordance with the legal non-complying lots, buildings, and structures provisions of the zoning bylaw. Future development on the benefiting properties following the finalization of consent applications will be required to comply with the provisions of the seasonal residential zone or will alternatively require additional planning approvals. The retained portion of the backlot is not proposed to be rezoned through the subject zoning bylaw amendment application, and therefore the zoning of the retained portion of the site will remain rural. The Crow Valley Conservation Authority has reviewed the subject application and has identified no concerns. Following a review and assessment of this application against land use planning policies, it is our opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the township official plan, and complies with the general intent and purpose of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen zoning bylaw. It is staff's conclusion and recommendation that this application be approved, and I would be happy to answer any questions from council members or members of the public. Thank you.
Okay, that's something I didn't do on the last one, but I will go through it here. I don't see anybody online or in the crowd, but let's go through this thing of 3 times in people in opposition, followed by 3 times in favor. I'm not seeing anybody online there. But for the first time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition. Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition. And third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Second time in favor. Third time in favor. Hearing none, I'll open it up to council. Go ahead, council comment.
So through you, Mayor Martin, this application's been before us before, came back as amended, and I propose that we pass it.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Clement. I have a seconder for that. 1 second the motion. We move the recommendation. Councillor Doherty, you're seconding that. Questions?
Yeah, I just got questions for clarification in terms of, sorry, I'm trying to get to the page here. Just looking at it. There we go. Page 191. Yeah, perfect. So through you, Mayor, Nolan, in terms of what we've got up there, the top picture of all the blue, what address is that? I think that's all one piece of property now?
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Martin, that top image with the blue irregular shaped property is one property, and that is the property that I've been referring to as the backlot property. It is not known by a municipal address, but is a landlocked parcel which is owned by Annette Haberling, which portions of this property are to be severed and conveyed to each the property at 166 Fire Route 57 and the property at 178 Fire Route 57 to the south.
So which pieces? Because on here, it's got it listed all as one piece. So I mean, who owns the blue piece? What number does the blue piece go with?
Through you, Mayor Martin, if the clerk could scroll to page 190, the page above, you can see the lands to be rezoned from rural zone to the seasonal residential zone are the 2 pieces from that backlot property which are to be rezoned. You can see page south, the 2 arrows that point to the portion next to 166 Fire Route 57, and then the portion which is sort of an irregular square next to 178 Fire Route 57. These are the 2 portions of the backlot property which are currently zoned rural and need to be rezoned prior to being added to the properties at 166 and 178 respectively.
So I think what the deputy mayor is asking though, so the people at 166 Haberling, they own the whole big piece of property and then they're just joining it to their property at the front? Like taking some of that property and joining it to these other properties?
Through you, thank you. I can see now where the clarification is required. So It's technically in separate ownership, the back lot, because the property at 166 Fire 57 is owned by both Annette Haberling and Jason Vance. So the two property owners collectively own the property at 166 Fire 57, while the backlot property is owned by only Annette Haberling. So the same property owners in function, but on the title of the property, the ownership is different. And that's why this property wouldn't be able to say just merge on title. It required a separate consent application as the ownership is different and the properties are separated functionally.
Review, is this not kind of what we talk about backlotting? You talk about backlotting all the time. It says right on the thing, it's a backlot.
So
Building on the back line is the. So
I'm just saying in prior
when they join,
planning sessions, we always try to discourage backlotting. This seems like backlotting it. Nobody seems to have a problem with it.
through the mayor, if I could provide some additional context. So the consent applications that were previously approved did not result in the creation of this backlot. So this backlot parcel was an existing backlot essentially. So it was a property without frontage on either the water or a public road. It does have access via the fire route. Um, but through these consent applications, it is understood that these consent applications will result in a more functional lot fabric for the properties at 166 and 178 Fire 57. They generally take lands from the existing backlot to create a more linear, rectangular, and enlarged property fabric for each of these sites. And it does not change the status of the existing backlot. That backlot does not currently have frontage, and it won't change essentially. So to just reiterate, this application does not create a backlot condition. It essentially utilizes an existing backlot to convey lands to create a more functional lot fabric.
Travis, can you add to that, like, anything to clarify it?
For you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, Nolan pretty clarified it as far as I could. Like it's an existing back lot now, just taking a couple pieces off it, so the existing back lot does not change and reduce in size.
So once they're joined to the front lots, it's not backlotting anymore, they're still paying the size of the front pieces.
There's still a piece there that is going to be a back lot.
Yeah.
But it's existing now.
That's right, but it eliminates when they're
But the same
developing on these lots, they're not backlotting anymore, it's a part of the front lot.
Yeah, the parts that Nolan has identified are going to be merged with the front lot.
Yeah.
It resolves to.
I don't know, and I'm not trying to interrupt anybody's building here. It's just in terms of what we deal with here, we kind of I thought had the policy in a way of not doing stuff like this, right? And this, no matter which way you explain to me, is still backloading because the person that owns 166 owns the backlot, the connecting property. Am I not right?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, Alicia Ackroyd here, just for folks online who may not know me yet. The backlot policies, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, are specific in the official plan that it's the creation of a new lot that wouldn't have frontage. So there's nothing in the official plan that would prohibit, I guess, like the reduction of lot area to them. And to Nolan's point, because the ownership is different, that backlot could be separately conveyed to a completely different property owner. It just so happens that this applicant happens to also own property with their spouse towards the front of the fire route there. So the ownership of kind of both of those properties really has no effect on the eventual consent that's been provisionally approved. This is just to really facilitate that consent that's already been provisionally approved.
Thank you for that explanation, Alicia. It makes it a little more clear. I'm not trying to hold this up in any way. It's just I'd like us to be kind of consistent with the way we apply these, right? Because I'm sure somebody else is going to come in with the same thing. And I know we've gone through this before, so I want to make sure that Thank you for
Absolutely.
clarifying to
Yeah.
Alicia and Nolan. Thank you very much.
Councillor Doherty.
Mr. Mayor Martin, a question. I just want to be clear. It's not a back lot, but you keep referring to it as a back lot. So I'm confused there. And if I applied for a permit on the back lot now, a building permit, would I get it?
Thank you. And through the mayor, that is a great question. I think this will help us kind of clarify the situation. So I've been referring to this parcel as a backlot because it is currently a backlot. The backlot policies, as Alicia stated, prohibit the creation of a backlot, and therefore the consent applications that are related to this application did not effectively create this backlot. This backlot was existing, and it will remain a backlot after this. But this development isn't prohibited by policy because it did not result in the creation of a backlot. Now, to your question about development on the backlot, development on this backlot would be prohibited because it does not have frontage on a public road or shoreline. But Alicia, if you can add to that, please do.
Thanks, Nolan. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess I'll clarify the prohibition standpoint. It's because it's a lot of record, there are some property, like inherent property rights, so you can build on it, but it would not be further developed in the sense that they're not looking to either create new backlots, nor are they looking to exacerbate this situation. So perhaps add to it. And create a worse situation. But should there be a building permit, there would have to be a number of other sort of steps that would have to be followed because there is no frontage on a public road. So again, one of those road agreements that the township is familiar would have to be applied for, and there may be some restrictions in terms of what uses could be applied to. The lot is currently zoned rural. But for safety purposes, we would be reviewing that to see what could actually be built on the site. So potentially there could be some development, but with a number of caveats and stipulations. But it does exist, so development is technically allowed in some ways.
Follow up for you, Mr. Mayor. The word landlocked was used. In what context are you using the landlocked? And what portion of it? I assume it's the back lot that you're referring to, is it? So we can landlock somebody by creating this? Is that what you're saying?
Through the mayor, the use of the term landlocked was just simply to refer to the back lot as with its status of not having frontage on the shoreline. And so it was more used in that sense, just to reiterate that it did not have frontage. And I hopefully can clarify that this zoning bylaw amendment will not have the effect of landlocking any existing properties. It does not remove any properties from having access to the waterfront that previously had access to the waterfront. It will simply result in the properties at 166 Fire Route 57 and 178 Fire Route 57 as having a enlarged fabric. So these properties that currently have access on both the shoreline and Fire Route 57 are simply being enlarged to create a more functional lot fabric. And these consents did not result in the loss of frontage for any other parcels. Yeah, it did not result in the landlocking of any new parcels.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, one other quick clarification point. We also are with an absence of an actual municipal address. On the map, you'll see here we've got 166, 170, 178 Fire Route 57. This property doesn't have a municipal address. And so for the purposes of really just description, that's why we've been calling it the backlot or the landlocked parcel, just to provide a little bit of context.
Okay. Thank you. And yeah, it's complicated when you're using the backlot term when we don't allow backlot, but this eliminates that problem by joining them with the front property. So, okay. Do we Yep, do we have a mover and a seconder? Okay, thank you. All right then, so any other questions with regards to this? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Thank you. So next, Alicia, I think you're presenting the next zoning bylaw amendment for Z 1526.
Yes, thank you very much. And through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. The next file is Z 1526, and it's relating to the property municipally known as 70 Fire Route 15A, which is owned by John Black, who is the applicant. And the property is located in part of Lot 19, Concession 3 in the Belmont Ward. And it is identified with roll number 1531-010-006-39100. I'm going to apologize in advance. I am struggling a little bit with a cold here, so if my voice cracks or anything like that, please give me some patience. The property is designated shoreline in the township of Havelock-Belmont, Methuen's official plan, and is zoned rural in the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's comprehensive zoning bylaw, 1995-42 as amended. The purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to facilitate the construction of an addition to the existing seasonal residential dwelling that exists on the property and to apply appropriate performance standards that reflect both the existing and the proposed development on the site. The property is 1,277 square meters in size, with just under 54 meters of frontage on Belmont Lake. And the site is currently developed with a one-story seasonal residential dwelling that I alluded to earlier, which comprises a ground floor footprint of approximately 63 square meters. So just over 600 square feet. The cottage contains a basement, though, which has actually a greater footprint than that of the ground floor. The site is also developed with a detached garage, which is approximately 47 square meters in size. And you can see from the very detailed site plan there, that's towards the south of the plan. The applicant is proposing to construct a ground floor and upper story addition to the existing dwelling, and the new addition will actually align the floor areas of the ground floor and basement levels, so bringing it from that 63-ish square meters to about 90 square meters on the ground floor level, and it will also provide a smaller second story addition. To accommodate these additions, some existing attached decking will be removed and the additions will take their place. The applicant is seeking relief from the minimum required setback to the high water mark and the required minimum front and side yard setbacks. The cottage is 7.8 meters from the high water mark of Belmont Lake and 4.3 meters from the north property line. And though these existing setbacks are to be maintained through the expansion of the cottage, of course, because there is new development, we're looking to effectively reduce those setbacks on paper. And a new septic is also proposed to be added to the site to accommodate the increased size of the cottage. So there is a septic there now, a new one's going to replace it. And it will be just over 21 meters from the high water mark of the lake, located on the opposite side of the cottage from the water. The site is currently zoned rural in the township zoning bylaw, and so to reflect the seasonal residential nature of both the existing and the proposed development, township staff are recommending that the new site-specific zoning in the form of our special district zones refer to the seasonal residential parent provisions of the zoning bylaw rather than the currently applicable rural provisions. And the rural provisions and the shoreline residential provisions, they only really differ slightly in certain criteria. So, for example, the new applicable side yard setback would be 6 meters for the shoreline residential, where it's 4.5 for the rural. So either way, there would need to be relief, but we just feel that because relief is already being sought, it would be more appropriate to reflect the use of the site as for a cottage. So relief is being sought from the general provision section 4.37 of the zoning bylaw. That's to permit the reduced high watermark setbacks to the deck, cottage, and septic, as well as the front yard and side yard provisions under section 10, which is that shoreline residential section in the zoning bylaw. As discussed, there's no further encroachment towards either the front or side lot lines nor the high water mark. It's just a representation of the expansion of the cottage to those existing setbacks or improved setbacks in other cases. And the applicant has obtained a permit from the CVCA to facilitate the development already. So following the township's review and assessment of this application within the context of relevant land use planning policies, it's the township's planning opinion that the application is consistent with each of the provincial planning statement, conforms to the county and township official plans, and complies with the general intent and purpose of the township zoning bylaw. And thus it is staff's recommendation that the application be approved. And of course, I am happy to answer any questions from council members or members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. All right, then, for the first time, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? And third time, anybody in opposition? Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor?
Hello,
Hello?
I'm the agent. If there was any
Okay.
further questions that you guys had, I guess I had to be on record in order to do anything later, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And did you have anything to add to the presentation at all?
Not really. We're basically building over top the existing foundation.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? All right, then, I'll open up to council. What's your thoughts here?
Motion to approve.
Okay, it's moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we approve the move the recommendation, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
The next item on here is Lisa, you can take that one, too.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the last zoning bylaw amendment application being discussed this morning is for file number Z1426 related to the property municipally known as 54 Fire Route 76, which is owned by Paul Weep. The property is located in part of Lot 17, Concession 4 in the Methuen Ward, and is identified with roll number 1531-010-007-13300. The property is designated shoreline in the township's official plan and is zoned seasonal residential in the township's in the township's zoning bylaw as amended. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment being presented today is to reconstruct and enlarge the existing seasonal residential dwelling that exists on the property. The property is nearly an acre in size, though much of this area is fragmented by Fire Route 76, as well as a water course that runs through the property. And the property comprises a very topographically varied area as well. The site has 76 meters of frontage on Cashbog Lake and is developed with a single detached dwelling, a sleeping cabin, and just a couple of small sheds on the, I guess you would say, water side of the fire route that goes through the property. The applicant is proposing to increase the size of the existing dwelling from approximately 45 square meters in area to approximately 63 square meters. And the reconstructed dwelling is proposed on a similar footprint to the existing structure with no further encroachment towards the shore of the lake. New decking is proposed as part of the reconstruction, and it will be located further back from the lake than currently exists. The current structure is partly located within the recommended 6-meter setback to the floodplain of Cashbog Lake, while the reconstruction will result in meeting the minimum recommended 6-meter setback by the CBCA, therefore improving the existing conditions on the site. The new decking will be located about 15 meters from the high water mark, while the existing deck is about 14.7 meters from the high water mark. And the cottage is proposed at a similar distance to the high water mark as currently exists, which is 17.4 meters. Relief from the zoning bylaw is required, however, to support the redevelopment, despite these improvements being proposed. And the seasonal residential provisions of the zoning bylaw, I should note, also require a minimum building area of 74 square meters, though the Ontario Building Code does permit smaller structures and is overall meant to be the tool that really regulates minimum dwelling size. So I will just note that the requirement for the minimum dwelling size in the zoning bylaw is a dated one. It's fairly unnecessary, and we're more than happy to justifiably reduce the required minimum dwelling size from that 74 square meters to the 63 square meters, because Travis and all of the other building folks who are involved on the applicant side will make sure that everything complies with the code. So no concerns with that relief. So relief is being requested from that, as well as from the minimum required setbacks from the high water mark and that front lot line for the cottage and the attached decks. But as I've mentioned, there's no further encroachment towards either the high water mark or the front yard line setback. And the township does anticipate that a permit will be required from the CVCA to facilitate the development. So following the township's review and assessment of this application within the context of the relevant land use planning policies, it is the township's planning opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the county and township official plans, and complies with the general intent and purpose of the township's zoning bylaw. So it is staff's recommendation that the application be approved, and like always, happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. All right then, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? Is the applicant or agent online? Okay, second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, I'll open up to council. Thoughts here?
Make a recommendation.
Okay, move the recommendation. Councillor Doherty, second. Councillor Clements seconding that. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you, Alicia. So I'll look for a motion that we move out of the public meeting. What's going to call a recess here just for 10 minutes? Sorry, Travis, but yeah, so
We can do his real quick.
just why do yours?
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay, let's get yours out of the way.
Let's
Yeah.
do the plan.
All right then, so a motion to move out of the meeting was Mayor Webb, beaten by Councillor Clement. All in favor, carried. Okay, so
Mr.
go ahead,
President,
Travis.
council will be quick then. This report and agreement and bylaw was brought to council July 14th. The purpose of this report is to present for council approval the temporary use agreement and bylaw pertaining to the Sugar Bush Bluegrass Country Festival, August 27th, to the 29th of 2026. Like I said, the agreement was here with council July 14th. With one change has been made since the owner has requested just a little more time afterwards for cleanup. So in clause number 8 has been extended to September 15th. The owners have signed it. It's here for council's consideration. Recommendations, whereas the mayor and clerk enter into agreement with John Blakely and Catherine Blakely to allow the Sugar Bush Bluegrass and Country Music Festival to take place on the property located at 7876 County Road 46, concession 4, part lot 27, identified by roll number 1531 010 007 16000, and that the bylaw be passed in the bylaw section of today's meeting.
Okay, I'll open up to council. There are recommendations before you. Councillor Clement is going to move that. That is seconder. Councillor Flagler second. Any questions? All in favor? And that's here. All right then, so I'll look for a motion that we take a 10-minute recess. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Deputy Mayor Webb. Come on back at 25. Yeah. All right then, so I'll look for a motion that we resume the meeting. Moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, so we're moving into staff reports for information. We have 5 of them here. Go through them. We've got Parks and Rec July Department update. Treasurer Lionel Towns Asset Management Plan update. We also have the 2026 update on capital project. And the fire chief for the May incident summary and the June incident summary. Are there any questions with any of these reports? Any questions for any reports? Councillor Doherty, go ahead.
Through you, Martin, on the capital budget, Lionel, one's got, it says here that they're ordered, just ordered. Or it doesn't say just ordered, it says ordered. Any idea when the orders were put in and expectation of delivery dates there? Or maybe I guess it's fire, is it?
Yes, you share. The order term is what we have as far as notes go. We don't have any details beyond that. I'm not sure if the fire chief is on the line or not, but perhaps he could provide some information.
Ray, are you on there? I don't see his name on there now. You there? Ray?
Yeah, I'm here, Martin,
Okay.
I'm here, yes.
Okay, did you hear the question?
It actually cut out. I didn't hear what Councillor Doherty was asking about. It was something ordered. That's all I got.
Yeah. I'll go again there, Councillor Doherty.
Sure. No, I just said they're ordered a long time ago, expected date of delivery. Will it be within this calendar year or not? With everything the way it is for ordering, that's.
Yes, anything that's ordered will be here. I believe on the fire part of it, there was bunker gear that was ordered. It actually has been delivered. It was delivered last Friday late.
Okay. Okay. Lionel?
Can you share? Perhaps it might be useful. We can talk in a management meeting. Going forward, we can add sort of explanatory text as far as when things are ordered. Perhaps anticipate delivery time if council would like that.
Okay. All right then. Any other questions with regards to these?
Oh, through you, Mr. President, not a question, just a comment, in terms of Josh, Parks and Rec, report. Just around the disc golf, there's pictures of the disc golf. We just wanted to say thank you very much to Josh himself, staff, Steve, Sam, the students, everybody else over there that I'm forgetting. Thank you for doing that, getting it in so quickly. Obviously, we had an event last week where we had the grand opening, and thank you everybody for attending. Thank you to staff. We had Leah, Taylor, and Bob. Thank you very much for setting that up. I thought it was very well received by the community. And hopefully it sees a lot of use here over the next few months, and we can, maybe in going ahead, look at expanding it if people seem to like it. So, but I had some good comments about it so far, but the real, I guess, test will come with how much use it gets. So we'll see, right? So
I was surprised.
Thank you to all of staff.
I was surprised how much there is to it. There's quite a lot to it. So anyways, yeah, hopefully it's successful. If there's no other questions or comments around the staff reports for information, I'll look for motion to receive the reports. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. All right, we're going to move into staff reports with follow-up action. First one is kind request from the youth committee with regard to kids bingo. So.
I'll rent you a bit of space here.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. So yes, the youth committee has come to us with a request for the town hall for running a kids bingo on August 28th from 5 p.m. to 9. And the financial impact, the loss of revenue, however, would be $100.
Okay. All right, and it's town hall's gonna talk to you, is that?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the recommendation is there, council's okay with it? Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
Recommend for approval.
Okay, moved by Councilor Doherty, second by Councilor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. Great, thank you. Back to the procurement of the Okay, go ahead. Lionel, do you have anything to add? around.
Future, I know we're a little bit tight in time, so just a few quick items. The previous policy had been approved in 2008. So in that intervening time period, a lot has changed, not just value of a dollar, so to speak. Legislation changes, our organization changes. So this was an attempt to bring everything up to a more current vantage point, take into account the legislation changes that have occurred, and just give a more current lens to like an ever changing supplier marketplace as well. So hopefully this does that, and I can answer any questions that anybody has.
Great. Any questions for Lionel? Go ahead.
No, through you, Mr. Mayor, just a comment. Thank you very much, Lionel. This is something I think it's come up quite a few times when we're doing RFPs and things like this. We've talked about kind of updating this policy. So thank you for bringing us into the 21st century with this. I appreciate it very much.
So, okay, so recommendation here is that we approve this policy. Are you moving that? Kathleen in second?
Yeah.
All in favor? That's carried. Okay, thank you, Lionel. Great, so next we have correspondence with action item. First item here is the commemorative walkway with the Legion. So this is something they've asked for, and Bob, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So we do have a request for commemorative walkway, potentially two. One here from the SO to the municipal building, and then up the road across George Street, which basically follows the path of the Remembrance Day March. Estimated pricing at this point would be approximately 10,000 per walkway. And those will require maintenance every 5 years or so, approximately.
So it's 5. 10?
Approximately. That's an estimate.
I'm sorry, just through you, is there, I guess obviously we haven't kind of committed to this, to decide on this, so we can look into maybe other options around pricing in terms of that, because that number does seem a bit, it could be what it is, right? But in terms of that, we'll examine that moving forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
Mr. Steven.
the principal thing about putting a walkway is something we can look into, and we can bring back some other ideas here too.
Well, I know, yes, we support it in
Yeah.
principle
Yeah.
with the cost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Because that design was asked for as well.
That's correct.
Okay, so
it's moved by Jerry and seconded by Art. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next item on here is the Alto resolution from South Dundas with regards to the Alto project. You can support their motion, and we can receive it for today. It's up to the council. That's why it's on here, Bob.
Yep.
I would like to support the motion.
Okay, moved by seconder and seconded. Okay, moved by Bev, second by Art. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next item here is YMCA Kids Dualathon, request from the YMCA. It's a Campbellford thing, and I just had some questions, but it is time sensitive, but it's YMCA used to come over and do a lot of programs here, and I don't know, your kids, like, is there anything at the school, or there's nothing at the arena anymore?
not that I know of, yeah.
So it was always easier to support things like this when they were working in our town.
I agree with maybe because it is cutting kind of close here, but to your point, if we could maybe start the discussion at least with what's going on with them over there, and maybe on this one, then maybe we're a bit late, but moving forward, as I said, to your point, we'd like to know what they're running over there, if there's opportunities for our residents to use that, or if there's opportunities for them to expand their program over in HVM, right? So maybe we can maybe reach out to them with a letter that explaining, we're sorry about missing out on this opportunity. But we'd love to work with you moving forward.
Yeah, and I had said, we're seeing more and more of these support letters, and I think it's just gonna get more, it's not gonna get any better. So it might be something, and like I know we use council initiatives and things like that, but going into this year's budget, it might be a separate line. I know we do it at the county too, like, you have so much to go around for donations, and when it runs out, then you might, if it's really important, there's always an opportunity, but for these types of things, because we have another one coming up next, and I'll get into it, but we may need a line in there for donations, and when it runs out, it runs out, because I do see more coming all the time, but so with that, I'll move into the next action item. It's Marmor Agricultural Society. This came to me last week. I forwarded it over to get it on the agenda. They're looking for some support with their fair. So it's up to the council, or we can receive it. It's Councilor Flagler, go ahead.
Yes, sir, you, Mayor Martin. Question on the kids sponsor, the YMCA. Where is the pool in Campbellford?
I think it's at the new arena. Yeah,
Attached to the arena.
Yeah.
By the giant tiger, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or Denby, I think.
To the new arena?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I didn't realize that they moved the pool. Okay.
Are we
Thank you.
receiving that?
On the YMCA one, I think it was just to receive it and open up some dialogue with them for future.
No.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. What was your?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear what.
Okay, all right then. So I was thinking it was a motion that you were saying, but we just open up some dialogue with them and plan for next year on the YMCA one.
But yeah, I didn't put it out as a
No,
motion.
it's not a motion. Okay, sorry.
Do you want me to make it a motion? Is that?
We need a motion for that. What are we
Okay,
supporting it,
sorry.
or that was a suggestion?
I would suggest we receive it and then reach out to them in terms of finding.
Thank you.
See things forward.
You
Second that.
You're seconding that. All in favor of the motion, and that's carried. And with the Marlboro one,
Well, maybe we should give them one.
what's your thoughts on this one?
I'm thinking the same thing, but it's not them.
Right, so may I ask through you, Mayor?
Yeah.
What was our contribution last year? Because we did make one.
Oh, shoot, I don't know that.
Would it be easier just to say, we'll do with sat last year's budget? It was an error last year. I'll make a motion that we approved the donation at last year's amount.
Yeah. And moved by Councilor Doherty that we support them with last year's amount, seconded by Councilor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, all right, then the next on here, and we will be breaking at 12 o'clock for the closed session. So correspondence information, there is a couple of items here. We can receive the balance of the correspondence if there's no section. Moved by Councilor Clement that we receive the balance, second by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor, and that's carries. All right then, so we're moving to liaison reports here. So Art, I don't know whether you had anything from the county. There was a few things went on, but
yeah. I'm just gonna do my committee reports today.
Okay.
So just maths and property committee meeting, sorry, the minutes are there for back from January. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, just an update. Staff met with Daniel from Ampere about the sorry, about the kind of website app, learning app that we were looking at with the schools. So hopefully staff will have a report brought back here either first or second meeting in September with a little more detail in terms of the costs and what it might look like going forward. We're still gonna have to wait. I think Taylor said that the funding for that wouldn't come into October, I believe, right, Taylor? So we have time to make a decision on that, but I'm trying to pick down some more information in terms of what it is and kind of the details of what the website or app would look like. So hopefully, as I said, next month, we'll get some report on that. Peterborough County OPP Detachment Board, lots of fun. So at the meeting, I've talked with a couple members of council about this. Kind of had a discussion around pre-budget. So this were the actual discussions of the budget that will occur in the fall. One thing that came up though was they proposed adding 2 more spaces for people to attend conferences from this committee. So originally, last year's budget, we budgeted enough for 2 people out of, I believe at that time, it was 8 or 9 on the committee to travel to conferences. So that would include their conference administration and obviously their hotel, food, whatever. In the meantime, because we've had the provincial appointees and the public appointees, the committee has swelled to 15. So this year, now that it's 15, they've come back and the budget ask coming the fall will be for 4 people to travel to the conference every year, which I believe on the budget line will reflect somewhere between $12,000 and $13,000 out of a total of a $40,000 budget for the whole committee. So I raised this with the committee. I thought there's no way we can have 30% of our budget be going to conferences and things like this. I can't explain that, to my council or to the residents that I work for. Anyways, it went to a vote. It lost. I wasn't happy about it. I brought up I didn't make a motion, but I brought up a discussion because as I said, this will come back to budget. So I brought up another suggestion in that because everybody kept coming back with, well, these are new people and the provincial appointees, they need the education and that's why they need to go to these conferences because they need to be educated up on the OPP board and how it works. So I said, that's fine. Whatever township said people or said appointees are from, or if they're provincial appointees, then if they're provincial appointees, then the province can pay for their trip. And the same way, whatever township they're from here, they would itemize that township instead of it going into a general pool, because basically what's happening here is I haven't gone to any conferences in 2 years, yet we're paying our share of what is now a $5,000 or $6,000 conference bill, right? That we're not taking part in. So just trying to make everybody aware, as I said, whether I'm here, somebody else is here, come fall, this will come up again in budget. So to me, it's a committee. I suggested only one person. I said maybe the chair, deputy chair, right, would go to these conferences. They could bring a report back because they're small conferences too. It's not like going to AMO or going to Roma, like the conferences we go. These are kind of very focused, and I don't see how you can send 4 people and get any more information out of it than sending 1. So I see it more of as an abuse of taxpayers' money and a whole bunch of people that just want to take a free trip. Anyways, that being said, as I said, I just wanted council to know and maybe let it sink in for a bit. So
Through Chair, I don't know, maybe it would help if we passed a motion and say we think that they should restrict the attendance at conferences to a minimum of 2, suggested 1. Because most townships have a policy relating to conferences. So I can't see why they wouldn't. And I guess the other thing is the provincial appointees, they were handpicked by the province. So I assume they had all the knowledge required to look after that committee. But I'm hearing that's not.
One would think so, because we actually had a selection committee, a subcommittee of the police board committee that looked at, because the resumes for the people that applied were quite thorough. I was quite impressed actually with, because to your point, the background that they have. I'd go so far as to say some of them might have more of a policing background than I have. That I think I can conduct my job up there on the police board just as well without going to a conference.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So anyways, yes, and to your point, it wouldn't hurt, Councillor Dorn. It definitely wouldn't hurt, and it would help either my case or whoever case goes to the budget meeting in terms of, trying to get this changed.
Yeah. I'll make the motion if we can get a seconder.
Okay, moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Flagler, that we restrict it to How was it worded, Councilor Doherty?
Maximum of two, we really only want one.
Okay. Okay. So it's mover and a seconder, all in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, Through Chair. If I could make a comment, and I mentioned this to the deputy mayor representative. I've read the minutes from this new founded police board since it's in implementation. What are they doing relative to policing? I haven't seen anything. This one had some graphs with it, so all I see is non-police work. I mean, I'm not sure what their mandate is. It's police board. Is it policing, or is it conferences, or is it things? And the other thing that I'm still not happy about is the double dipping with the treasurer of the board being paid by the county as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any answers?
I don't know if I have an answer for Councilor Doherty. And yes, we have discussed this and this is part of my problem with the whole thing, in that I've sat on that committee now for what, a year and a half. And I probably couldn't list you 5 things in terms of tangible things we've done to move ahead, at least the cause of policing or making my community safer. Yet the discussions we keep having around the table are consistently around what conferences we're going to, what kind of golf shirts we're buying, what kind of name tags we're getting. So I'm troubled by it, because as I said, I thought I was sent there to make decisions or take steps to make my community safer. And I don't see at least myself or even others that are there doing any of that. I see it a bunch of ancillary things and look busy and spend the taxpayers' money.
So
without
when
recourse.
When we had them here, they used to bring the Black Cat updates and they serve not calls for service.
Everything, but any reports we get are generalized. So we basically get to your point, Mr. Mayor, they used to come here and they give us specifics. So how many fatalities were in HBM? How many car accidents? How many drug arrests? When we get it at the county, everything is at a county level.
Okay.
So, and to be fair to them, if we get quarterly reports that do break it down into just, to each township. But the meetings, when we go up there, everything is presented generally. So to your point exactly, we get into every, whether it's myself or somebody from Norwood or OSM, they always say, well, what do the numbers reflect for my community? So, and that's what we're trying to work through now, without getting Chris to have to make 7 different reports for every meeting. I think, but hopefully the problem, I think they should have just left it the way it was. I get in terms of the amalgamation, they thought it would work better, but in terms of actually serving our community and getting our input for the focus of what our community needs, I don't think this model is working at all. So.
All right then. Okay. All right then. So thank you for doing that. All right then. So we have go ahead.
Yeah. It's you, Mayor. I'm not sure whether you're done the meetings, but we had the Cran Cruiser on Saturday.
We're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet.
So I thought you said other liaison reports. My mistake.
So, yeah, okay.
Yep.
That's so next on the agenda is the written or oral notice of motion. I don't have any written before me. Is there any oral notice of motion? Hearing none. We're still waiting for our closed session delegation to get here, so we'll carry on. We're going to move into other business, and there's several reports there.
Do the draw.
Okay, let's do that draw.
Oh, start of the show?
Yeah.
Job local draw? There you go.
As they go.
I got $95 from your. See it in.
Were you looking for?
No, I'm like community policing. I don't.
No, it'll come up under other. Okay, shop local draw.
All right, so this is the 3rd of 8 shop local contest draws for the 2026 season. This draw, we had 58 entries submitted for a total of $5,365.01 receipt value. The top 3 businesses were Foodland with 24 entries, Home Hardware with 11 entries, and Petro Canada with 4 entries. The winner of this draw will receive a $75 gift card to Ohana Embroidery Co. So.
All right.
Kathy.
Oops, hang on, they're all sticking together.
First.
No one?
Yeah, picture only.
No, I didn't have any in there.
Okay, Hazel Higley.
Okay. There you go. Very sentimental.
Right. Oh, you know?
Yeah.
It's sister-in-law. Okay.
Yeah.
Lucky we didn't get you to pick it.
All right, thank you.
$75, yeah. Gift card to Ohana Embroidery Co.
I'll give her the bad news today. I'm sure you will.
Okay. Oh, thank you. All right, so the next item on here is every once in a while we bring this back and we haven't had any success, but I think it's time. If anybody's been seeing the traffic that we've been dealing with on Highway 7 over the last year or so, it seems to be getting worse all the time. I think that the traffic count that they used the last time was outdated and done at the wrong time of the year and the time of the week. But that being said, I think we need to either invite MTO here or we need to just write them a letter from staff that they relook at the traffic lights on the corner of Marion Highway 7, but also add to it that we do need a crosswalk. And since this construction's been happening here and since the last time we asked, it is hard to get a crosswalk, but that being said, I see one in Norwood and with the farmer's market and people parking across the road here, it might be worth looking at seeing if there's an opportunity to get a crosswalk here to help with safety. That's the biggest thing that I just figured if we throw both things on there for a letter to them and see if anything falls out of it. But Councillor Clement and
So through you, Mayor Martin, I talked to somebody at the MTO quite a while ago. They told me they did their thing from Monday to Thursday. I said, you need to do it from Thursday to Monday. I'd like to see them come in person because I think it's more effective than a letter. They accept it as correspondence, they'll be gone. I'd like to see them come and talk to us. So my motion is to have them come and talk to us about, we can include the crosswalk and the light if you want.
okay, so just hold the motion until let everybody talk.
I'll second
first.
that motion. I like
Okay.
what I think you need to put in there, because what's gonna bring them to the table is what we talked to them about 6 or 7 years ago when they told us that we're gonna fix the sight lines on the Highway 7 leaving town here by the Jamboree property. We were promised that, and we were also promised, unless I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor, it was supposed to go to a 3-lane somewhere just down County Road 50, right? Between there and the third line of Belmont. I believe there's supposed to be a passing lane put in there. Unless my memory doesn't serve me correct at that presentation. We were bringing up the sight lines here, but we were told that the next thing that was gonna help traffic or ease, accidents along there, that they were adding that passing lane between 50 and the Belmont third line, which hasn't happened, of course. So, as I said, I would kind of maybe refer to some of these things we've been told. You'd have to look at when that last meeting was. It's got to be 6 or 7 years ago now, but I don't know if I would use the word promise, but we're kind of.
There was a lot of work to happen between here and Marmara.
Exactly, and none of it has been done.
No.
So, and to your point, once we get them here, then at least we'll have something to hold over their head, right? And maybe we can get a little bit of leeway here in terms of, I think the crosswalk is a lot easier ask than the stoplights, so.
Yeah. I just, that's our conversation. So if we have them here, so the motion would be that we invite MTO here to talk about the Highway 7 between here, like any work that's planned and needs to be done. So.
3 items, get the agenda.
Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any questions or comments around that motion? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay. All right then, I got a big thing up. These are installed. Okay, so the next on the agenda here is the Aon the 1-year anniversary. Go ahead, Bob.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, Aon Incorporated has invited council to participate in their 1 year anniversary of the long-term care home opening. And that event is taking place Tuesday, September the 15th, which of course is the same day as a council meeting. So if the event will take place between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So council has options to deal with the council meeting. You could recess to attend the Aon function and come back, or you could reschedule the council meeting to a different day. So that's put on the agenda for council's consideration today.
What council thought if we took a recess and just keep it a consistent day? Take a recess for lunch type of deal and come back,
Sorry, just to let you know, there is a barbecue included.
whatever. Yeah, so
So there's your lunch.
so no, what's thoughts of my preference is that we just take a recess for and then come back and finish what we need to for the meeting. Maybe we can get it done, but I doubt it. But anyways, what's your thoughts? It's up to council.
Either way, can
Yeah.
I like the recess for half an hour, whatever.
Okay, so we'll recess and we'll come back and we'll make the agenda to suit that. Okay. All right then. Do you want that motion for that?
Sure.
Yeah, so that's moved by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. All right then. I don't have the thing about cram the cruiser, Councillor Doherty, but if it's time sensitive, you want to get it out there, go ahead, and if not, I don't have it on my agenda, that's all.
Well, it's very difficult to put on the agenda. It only happened Saturday and I didn't know the results, so it's pretty
So
hard.
bring it to
If
the
you
next
want the results, I can give them to you today, or we can wait to the next meeting, but
Go ahead, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
oh, thank you. I really appreciate your
Well, it's up to council.
approval, Councillor Clements.
Well,
It was a very successful day, we got over 2,000, which was good, really. I'd just like to thank Kim Henderson and the rest of the committee and Foodland. We ran out of bags, so we closed about 10 minutes early, and we're very successful in getting caught in the rain to unload them. So it was good, but it was very, very well received, and we have a lot of generous people that attended Foodland on Saturday, and I don't know their names, but we had a couple that were really generous, and we want to thank them as well. So I beg the indulgence of the council by that report and importance.
Thank you. All right then, so with that, still don't see our delegation here, so we'll just carry on with the bylaws. We have the bylaws here. We have 5 bylaws here, so I'll bylaw 2026-049 for zoning bylaws change, there's both. 2026-50 same bylaw amendment for the name there, the counter, we get the number of the bylaw anyway. Bylaw 2026-51 to amend the zoning bylaw for 70 Fire Road 15A, and bylaw 2026-52 for Fire Road 76 and bylaw 2026-53 with regards to the music festival. So I'll just look for a motion that we approve all of those move all in bylaws. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's all. All right then, so I'm gonna look for a motion that we go into closed session held under section 239-2F. Advice for subject to solicitor client privilege, and section 239-2K. Position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried out on behalf of the municipality. And 239-2E, litigation, potential litigation. So motion to go into closed session. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we're back in open, and I'll look for a motion that we receive the advice from the solicitor.
Jerry already did.
Jerry,
I backed it.
Kathy, all in favor? That's carried. And then the confirming bylaw for today's meeting. Jerry, Bev, all in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn, Art and Kathy.
Over here. Thank you.
Thank